Welcome in, everybody, to The Dynasty. It's a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, along with AJ McCarron, Trent Richardson. I'm Chris Stewart. Glad to have you with us. Don't forget, new episodes each week. YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. It's thedynastybama.com. If you're looking us up there, if you are listening, please rate, review, and share wherever you get an opportunity all across social media. At The Dynasty Bama is the handle. Coming up today, got a great conversation with Tom Luginbill, the ESPN analyst, former coach in his own right and player, but he'll talk recruiting with us, talk Alabama, present, future, and college football as a whole. And we're going to get an update on the red-hot Birmingham Stallions of head coach AJ McCarron. He is there at Stallions control. Trent is in his usual spot in the TR studios. I have taken my show on the road, getting to be a dad this weekend because my son's playing for a high school golf state championship with his teammates this week. So taking it on the road a little bit. Gentlemen, let's start things off, though, with a trip down memory lane. Sunday, May 3rd. 18 years ago. Oh, what a big, big day for what would become now Coach McCarron. But certainly it was a big day for Alabama. Wow. The little skinny, scrawny, skilled AJ McCarron makes that commitment to the University of Alabama.
How many years ago?
Remember that day a little bit?
How many years ago?
18.
Damn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Welcome. It ain't going to get any better, fellas.
Getting
it just
old.
gets worse from here.
Yeah,
It just gets worse from here.
Man, that was a fun day, though. We did it at where did we do it? Baumhauer's.
Yeah.
And it's where I committed. And Walter Lewis came and saw me and talked about wearing the number 10 that he had worn at Alabama, and it was a special day, really special day, and I'm glad I made that decision. It led to a lot of good memories for sure.
I just thought about Walter Lewis, year 10 because of him. The 1 year I played quarterback for the Fairfield Pee Wee Tigers, I was number 10 because of Walter Lewis too. I was a huge Walter Lewis fan. He still is, man.
Yeah,
still is.
Talk to him. He's he's always been, but he showed up to the signing out of nowhere on his own. Just talked about wearing the number 10 and how proud he was that I was going to be wearing it and all that. Like, and we've stayed in touch ever since. And he's still one of the best humans you could possibly ever meet. And love him to death. He's great.
Yeah. Trent, we got your anniversary of the coming up in June. We're going to talk more about yours then. But tell me, just recruiting wise, take us back just a little bit, because I know everybody wanted both you guys. But how much did y'all tell me this? How much did y'all talk during the recruiting process? And did you both lean somewhere else at any point? Start off soft, Trent.
Well, it's crazy because me and AJ and Dre Kurt probably, and Nico, right? But me, Dre, and Kurt, and AJ probably talked the most, especially me and AJ, being from that Gulf Coast area. Man, I actually knew when he was about to commit, because I got the little birdie in the ear, and he said, "Hey, AJ about to commit, and you need to be next," and this and that, and so, but I can remember, because at that time the best recruiter was AJ. AJ was the best recruiter. He was professional about a lot of stuff, but he was always having fun. So it always was a brotherhood with us, and it. I'm talking about, man, I think I still got the picture with Dre with the little dreads. I had the little dreads, and AJ was tall and skinny, and it's a picture, and I think I posted it a few years ago, and I said, y'all, guess who was this? And everybody was, oh, that's you, AJ and Dre. And we was always together, though. Like, anytime we went on a trip, to any school, because like, we was actually in the stands when Bama beat LSU at LSU, when Rashad Johnson had like 3 interceptions, and we the only 3 cheering for Bama in the stands. My mama over here pitching all of us, and so I can remember all that. And the craziest story is when Lane went to Tennessee, and the guy that was recruiting us, Lance
Thompson.
Yeah, he went over to Tennessee with him, and so the biggest thing was, hey, y'all better not take that trip down there. Don't go over there, because they everybody wanted us to take that trip. As far as who wanted us to go to Tennessee, and but a lot of people was against us taking that trip, and so I can remember all of that with AJ, and it feel like I'm a little kid again. It's crazy you said 18 years though. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But
it's been as long. It's been as long since now and then as number of years you guys spent on Earth. I think by the time you recruited, were y'all 17 or 18 when you committed? AJ, you remember?
I was 17 when I committed. I didn't turn 18 till I was up there at Bama.
Yeah. As it approached, tell me the other school. If it wasn't Bama, where were you going to go? What did it come down to?
For me, it was Oklahoma. I mean, just their offense. Stoops and Josh Heupel was the OC. I just love their offense. Watching Sam Bradford had just, I think, won the Heisman. And they were slinging it all over the place, but they were still pro style. And I've always been close with Coach Stoops, and it was pretty cool going through the recruiting process, and then college, and then I get to see him again when playing in the XFL, and he's coaching in the XFL, and then it transfers over to the UFL, and then spent some time with him, me, Trent, and Mark at the Oklahoma game when Alabama played Oklahoma this past year. So that was pretty cool to spend some time with him again. But yeah, for me, it was Oklahoma, and but I'm glad I didn't commit to OU and came to Bama.
Yeah. How about for you, Trent?
My favorite school was Texas. I was a big Earl Campbell, Ricky Williams, Cedric Vincent. Vince Young's my favorite college football player of all time. And so, and I was a big Colt fan too. I was just a Texas fan. But they didn't recruit me until the end. And I think it was one of those things that, Major Applewhite, and actually he kind of told me this a couple years ago. He was like, man, I wanted you so bad, but I told Coach I wouldn't recruit you. But I can remember like it was yesterday. They had a running back committed. Never played running back there a day in his life. But he was in high school, he was a running back. He was 6'3" or 6'4". He was like 270 pounds. Chris Whaley. I'll never forget that name, because that was the school I wanted to go to. And they said, we got a running back committed. We can't, we told them if we get him committed, we ain't going to take no running backs. And then I was like, all right, cool. And so at the end, they tried to come on board, and I was like, nah, I'm good. And
good.
But for me, man, it was probably between LSU and Florida. But I think me, AJ, and Kurt kind of made the pact where whoever go first, that's what we're going to commit to. And I think AJ signed first.
Does that say 285?
Yep.
Steve
listen, bro.
Getting that done.
Never played a running back at Texas, and I was like,
played defensive tackle.
Good Lord.
Who was going to be the running back? Oh,
you should have seen him in high school. He was running everybody over. Like,
I guess so.
Yeah.
So he thought he was Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Before Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Or they thought he was Derrick. Oh, man. That is crazy.
And what's crazy and what's sweet about it is like my last 3 schools that like I was like really considering was Florida, LSU, and Texas. I wanted to go to my whole life, and we got to play all of them and beat them all in that same year, and 2 of them was in championship games.
So good. So good. Hey, real quick before we head to break, let's go back to a big win for Coach McCarron. And I started to say, timeout, but I know you've been a little sensitive about timeouts being called and here recently. And so I thought I would just leave that alone. However, and all joking aside, for those that didn't catch it, go back and find it. Coach McCarron, just don't continue the play after coaches call timeout. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Congrats, great win.
Thank
I
you.
know it means a lot because it's been a struggle. The team dropped 4 straight. They didn't quit on each other. They didn't quit on you. Knew you'd never quit on them, but back-to-back wins, and you got it where you guys are still fighting for that postseason.
Yeah, I mean, we've had DTR 3 weeks now, and it's like I said, it brought a new life
for those that don't know.
Yeah, new quarterback, and caught a lot of heat making that trade and having to trade away 2 players for us, and a really good D lineman, Amani Bledsoe, but listen, it's all paid off. The team is gelling together and really playing hard for each other, and it was a big win. Yeah, the timeout kind of pissed me off. 3 seconds after the timeout, they still allowed the kick, but hey, maybe everything happens for a reason. We ended up blocking it and sending the game into overtime, and then just played lights out in overtime. Really good job by everybody. And but yeah, we're in the playoffs right now. We just got to win out. We're in the 4th spot, and they take the top 4 teams. And as long as we handle our business the next 3 weeks, we could probably work our way up to the 3 spot. And but we just got to take care of business, and we're right where we want to be.
Awesome. Great stuff. All right. When we come back, we're going to talk with Tom Luginbill, the ESPN sideline guy, but national recruiting analyst as well, talking all things college and future college players as well. Here on Dynasty, it's a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. So many people assume weight gain, fatigue, joint discomfort, it's all just part of getting older. But doctors are actually kind of learning now that many of these issues may be connected to your metabolic health, inflammation in the body, whatever they're learning. I'm the old guy on the show. I'm just glad they're starting to figure it out, and we can learn what we need to do to help.
Dr. Alex Casey at Birmingham Health is an Alabama native and former football player who works with patients every day to help them better understand how their bodies are functioning.
Dr. Casey specializes in chronic pain, neuropathy, which I've dealt with, non-surgical, non-narcotic solutions, helping patients lead pain-free, healthier lives.
Whether you're an athlete or a parent, he's committed to helping you feel better. And trust me, being a parent sometimes is way harder than going up against the SEC defense.
And Dr. Casey and his medical team at Birmingham Health are conveniently located in Bluff Park.
Call 659-247-3888 to schedule your appointment with Dr. Casey today and start your journey to better health.
All right, let me ask you this. Has anything in your house ever broken at the worst time possible?
Yeah, for me, it's almost always like it's middle of summer. Your AC's gone. Now I'm sweating. Not that takes much. And I'm stressed, which also doesn't take much. But that's why Autumn Air actually caught our attention.
They got financing options that don't feel like you're taking out a second mortgage.
And if you do one of their whole home protection plans, it basically covers everything: AC, plumbing, and electrical.
Oh, so you mean all the stuff that you don't want to deal with?
Exactly, Trent. So instead of panicking when something breaks, you've already got it handled, which is a way better game plan. Welcome back to the Dynasty, everybody. It's, of course, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. New episodes dropping each week on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. The hub is thedynastybama.com. And also, when you're listening, rate and review, please, across social media at the Dynasty Bama. Great to have with us a guy we've all known for a good while, from his work with ESPN and different platforms as well. But Tom Luginbill, ESPN's national recruiting director, analyst for college football, and whatever else they tell him to do, by golly, because we know how the worldwide leader works. Lugs, great to talk to you. Thanks so much for being on.
Absolutely. Good to see you guys, man. Good Sunday evening.
Yeah, you as well. The Tide got a big commitment. A lot of things we can go with, but there's one we're just going to start with. Bama getting the commitment from another high-profile quarterback prospect, 6'5", 220 QB out of Baton Rouge, Elijah Haven. He's a top prospect in 2027, top 10 nationally. Tell us what this guy brings to the table.
Well, it's interesting. If you go back, and we were having a conversation with our staff, and we were talking about his growth, because people don't realize that his freshman year on the varsity, he was playing defensive end and quarterback, right? And I'll tell you right now, some of that tape on defense is pretty damn good, right? And so he starts to kind of grow and mature and they really start transitioning into the offensive side. And I'll be honest with you, through our camp and combine circuit, the first couple of times I saw him, I saw this big, physically gifted, raw, athletic, strong-armed guy that was very erratic, very raw, wasn't overly polished, hadn't kind of really developed some of the nuances of the quarterback position. And then this last cycle, he really started to turn the corner and his footwork, balance, timing, anticipation, all those sorts of things really kind of started to even out. And he looked like he was really settling in on becoming a quarterback, and not just being the guy that looks great on the hoof and you want him, off the bus first. So, a lot of people, I always get asked, well, who does he remind you of, this and that? And he's hard to make a comp to because he's so physically different when you look at him. He's kind of a Joe Milton, Bryce Underwood combination physically. I think he's become more accurate than Joe Milton is ever going to be, but more towards maybe a Bryce Underwood type of guy. And obviously Bryce was forced to play right away at Michigan, and that's likely not going to be the case for Elijah Haven at Alabama. But I'm all for that. I think particularly at the quarterback position, to be able to grow and develop and mature and get acclimated without all the weight of the world on your shoulders is something. The younger you are, the better off for it you probably are. But there's no question he's an exciting guy. And like I said, he hasn't been just a natural quarterback the whole time. So I think he's got a really high ceiling for his best football to be in front of it.
Staying with this QB talk, how do you see this QB battle breaking down at Alabama between Keelon and Mack?
Well, I've as you have been, AJ, and I've been in quarterback competitions before, and I've coached quarterback competitions before, and I think what you try to do is you try to put those guys in a variety of situations where you chart everything, right? Where you document everything, whether that's a pre-snap denotation of, did I get out of a bad play or get her into a good play? All right, check that box. All right, did I hit the post snap progression and get the ball to where it was supposed to go? Was the ball dropped? Was the ball inaccurate? Did I turn the ball over? Did I move the chains? I think when you get into a competition like that as a coaching staff, what you really want to try to do is make sure that everybody knows that we're going to chart every single result, right? And that's important, and it should be important, because the name of the game at that position is you've got to perform and you've got to produce and you've got to be consistent. I think the position's about decision making and accuracy. And I think the one thing that gets lost in all of this, and AJ, tell me if you agree with this, is sometimes as a coaching staff, sometimes your team will tell you who that guy is, right? Sometimes your locker room will tell you who that guy is. And you may not know why. It could be something that how that he interacts with guys in the weight room, how he interacts with guys and saying, hey guys, we got to get out on the field this summer. We got to start throwing routes. We got to start hitting 7-on-7, and is the other guy kind of off playing video games? There's I think different traits to all of this. And I think that's the process by which Alabama is going through right now. They got a little slight sample size this last fall. I think both guys are very, very talented. I'm a little bit more intimately, I would say, knowledgeable about Keelon just because I was around him a little bit more. Um, Austin wasn't as high profile of a guy, but I'll tell you, when we had Keelon Russell down at the Under Armour All America game, and that the game's the game, but the week leading up to the game is where we really find out about a lot of guys. He was one of those kids that was the first guy in the meeting room, writing everything down. They'll come in after when other kids are bouncing around the hotel and he's in there watching tape. He was really dialed into the theory of the game and making sure he knew what he was doing. And that impressed me because I thought there was a work ethic there. There was an attention to detail that I thought was really, really important. On top of that, he's very, very talented. So, like I said, decision making and accuracy and the situations that they put those guys in and how do they respond, and then how consistently do they respond in a positive manner on top of, what I said lastly about, gauging your team and how your team responds to a guy, I also think is going to play a huge role.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think you have to factor all that in, and then that's why for me, I kind of view this as a me and Philip Sims 2011 type of deal where it probably leads into the first game of the year.
Yeah.
If they're both performing well at practice, because listen, Philip performed well at practice, and then for whatever reason, when the bright lights came on, it just didn't work
Right.
for him as well. So, I think you have to take this into the first game, but I'm with you. You got to factor everything in. You know, I've witnessed that more and more this year, and the QB situation we were in to start the year, um, and then when you make a trade and you get somebody else in, and it's like a whole new life just kind of enters the team, and everybody understands, oh, this guy's a pro, and I mean, it just brings new life to the team, and so you definitely, as a head coach, got to factor all that in, and I think it's going to be an interesting battle to see, how this thing plays out.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely.
Tell me this, man. When you look at Bama and the rest of the SEC, what things are you excited to watch play out?
Well, listen, I think, Alabama's going to obviously there's going to be so much focus and so much, narrative about can they run the football? Can they establish the line of scrimmage? Right. A team a year ago that wasn't able to consistently do that. And, a lot of pressure on Ty Simpson. I think, the defensive side of the football for Alabama is going to be really strong. Love the back end. I think it's going to be a really good group. When you look at on paper, and again, we can use Clemson last year as a great example of this, but it's so hard to project now more so than it was 10, 12 years ago because everybody's got a 30, 40, 45 man roster turnover. And we can sit there and talk all we want about, oh, they got 18 starters back or, well, that doesn't exist anymore. And so nobody really knows what type of team somebody has. Listen, it's like Coach Saban said his very first game day in Ireland. And they were talking about Ohio State. And it just so happened Ohio State did a good job in this regard. He said, you can pay all the guys you want, but if you pay the wrong ones, you're SOL. Right. And so we all don't know any of that yet about any of these teams. But if you look at the teams that have some I want to say minimal, don't have that 45 man roster turnover. Maybe they got a 20 man roster turnover, and then they've got significant returnees that are redshirt sophomores, redshirt juniors. I think that's why people get excited about Georgia in terms of their overall roster profile right now. And, Texas, you can see it with Texas as well. And then Alabama, I think you feel that way a little bit on the defensive side of the football. Obviously, it's going to be a retooled offensive line. You know this, Trent. I mean, when you came in as a freshman and now they got, Xavier Crowell, he comes in as a freshman and, there's going to be some expectations there. And especially with the focus being on the run game. And so how does he make that jump and does he acclimate quickly in things of that nature? Yeah, I think the team that everybody, if you're just asking about the SEC, the team that everybody's going to have their eyeballs on is LSU.
Shoot.
Naturally because of the offseason and because of all of the everything that follows Lane Kiffin and the investment they made in the transfer portal. And I would, whether it's Jordan Seaton at left tackle, whether it's the wideouts, whether everybody's going to be looking to Sam Levitt. And I'll say this, man, Sam Levitt better stay healthy because as talented as he's also been injured a
Injury prone.
lot.
Yeah.
And if that goes away, then what happens, right? Because this isn't Ole Miss anymore. It's not like, okay, we're going to build and put ourselves in contention. He was hired to put them in the game, right? And not 3 years from now. But that's the nature
Right
of the
now.
profession, right? I mean, that's what happens when and they all sign on for it. I get that. So they're going to have I think the most eyeballs, whether it's preseason, whether it's during the season, and there's going to be a really small margin of error for them. They're going to have to play their best football, consistently and play it against the best teams on their schedule. But the thing that's so interesting, I had a conversation with Kevin Steele about this. His last year as the DC, it would have been 3 or 4 years ago at Alabama, and he said that the thing that's changed more than anything else is we being Alabama, because we don't necessarily get affected right now in this new world order of the transfer portal and NIL with our ones and twos. It's our threes and fours. The threes and fours that normally would either understand the red shirt role or maybe play and get integrated a little bit, but they weren't going anywhere, right? Well, now you can't hold on to those guys. So we've dispersed the talent, whether that's within the SEC or guys go outside of the SEC or what have you. And you've evened out the rosters to some degree. And then going back to what we talked about with the roster turnover, how quickly can you build a locker room? Do you have great team chemistry? How about this? Do you screw up your team chemistry because you brought in the wrong guys? Now you've destroyed your locker room. All of those types of things to me, I think, play a huge role, and it's why it's so difficult to prognosticate now how good anybody's truly going to be. I think from a talent profile, the league is strong top to bottom. Obviously, a lot of talk about the Big Ten lately, but it's going to be very interesting to see how teams handle hype, how they handle expectation is going to be fun to watch.
I agree. I think LSU, from a whole standpoint, has probably the most pressure on them out of anybody in the SEC, just because
Oh,
of
yeah.
Lane, the leaving Ole Miss, the way it all happened, the way it went down, the amount of money they threw at him, the things they had going on behind the scenes at LSU,
The rumors that they's talking about.
and yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
then you got the rumors like when you don't win at LSU and you've been brought there, like you said, Tom, to win now, and
Yeah.
they're putting all the chips in, this one basket. It's it's going to be tough to see,
Yeah.
how they handle that as a team, and then how well it goes for them.
And AJ, the thing about that too is with the expectations, without the expectations, but in this particular situation, like you need so many things to go right at the
Mm-hmm.
right time, right? There can't be a glaring void. You can't have that ball bounce the wrong way at the most critical time of the game. Like that's just not where they're at right now with their expectation level.
Well, and I love that you said that because, Ole Miss, I kind of think not last year, the year before. All right, Ole Miss is in the driver's seat. They go down to Florida and they lose that
Yep.
game, a game they shouldn't have lost. Florida's been struggling all year. Like, it's okay to lose that game at Ole Miss. Like, people aren't happy, but they're still happy about having a great year. You lose
Yeah.
that game at LSU and it knocks you out.
Oh,
Like, the place is burning down. I mean, they're
yeah.
going to come after you. Like, that's the difference of just programs that you've gone, the leap in the from Ole Miss to LSU. Like, there's a ton of pressure there.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting, really interesting to see how that whole thing plays out.
Tom, man, I know, for us, as Bama guys, most anticipated game is always the Iron Bowl. But,
Yeah.
do you see, we're talking about Lane and, Ole Miss, is that the most anticipated game this year? And is that the most important game for Lane this year with, how he exited, how he left and, everything that went on around it? Is that the most important game of the year for Lane and just of college football this year?
It's a really good question. I don't know if it's the most important game for Lane. I think the most important game for Lane and LSU will be those highly anticipated matchups that you got to come up with a way to win that game. But then most importantly, maybe the most important game is going to be a game that nobody's paying attention to, that they're not supposed to lose, that they can't lose, right? And that is just what AJ said earlier. That happened, with Ole Miss 2 years ago. And it may be a game that nobody's thinking about yet that jumps up and bites you. And you go back to what I said earlier about talent being dispersed. Everybody's a little bit better. Any given Saturday, you go out there. It used to be those teams that you guys played on. You went out there and if you were a commentator like me, and I stood on the sideline and I looked at you guys on one side of the 50 and I looked at somebody else on the other side of the 50 and I'd go, that team is beating that team by at least 3 touchdowns, right? It's not as easy to do that anymore, right? It used to be, but it's really not. So I think that game is a big game. I also think, and I know because of the time of the year, but the Ohio State Texas game is a big game. I mean, that is going to be a big game. Is the loser out of the college football playoff? No, absolutely not. And again, that's one of the consequences of, expanding the playoff, right? If this is a 14 playoff, that game's a little bit different. So I do think that's a big game. Notre Dame, Miami is going to be very, very interesting again, because Notre Dame, I think, is loaded. I mean, they've got a really good football team back. So, and again, it's funny how all of this circles back to, like, who is everybody? Like, I can look at Notre Dame and say, okay, they have minimal guys out the door, right? They have minimal incoming guys, and everybody else has been entrenched in the program. To me, that's a huge advantage in today's college football landscape. And so how do you maintain that? I think it's, like I said last year about Indiana, they were old and they were experienced. It's hard to be old in college football right now. Like, it's hard to play with a roster of a bunch of redshirt seniors and graduate guys, right? Because they either leave for the NFL or they transfer, they go for somewhere else, and then you're left playing with the next guy. So the secret sauce is, how do you do that, right? And it's not easy.
Tom, tell you what, LSU, my bad, Chris.
No, go ahead.
You off, but since we were talking, LSU's first 3 of their first 4 games, or 3 of their first 4 games, pretty tough. You open up with Clemson, then you got Louisiana Tech, but then you got Ole Miss, A&M is another one. Kentucky and Mississippi State always play people tough. Like, they always have a game that they shouldn't be in, and they find a way. Then you got Auburn, Alabama, Texas, Tennessee, and Arkansas. I mean, that's not a cakewalk.
They might have one of the hardest schedules out there.
Right
well,
there.
And then the other thing you look at too in that, AJ, is where is the open week, right? And do you catch a team at the right time? I always kind of say, who you play, when you play, where you play. Like, if you catch somebody early that hasn't figured out who they are yet in week 3, and all of a sudden in week 10, that team's a totally different team, that's a different conversation. So, and that's where everybody, scheduling matters. It really does.
Last thing before we let you run. In the state of Alabama, Tom, it was like this years ago, even though you're not as old as I am, but nobody will match up with the Bear. Now the conversation is nobody will ever match up with Saban. And they're right, because they were the best of their eras. You talked about it just a minute ago, saying how things are different now, even from when Coach Saban's run was as good as it was. And frankly, even I think when he finished, your assessment, outside looking in, but with real knowledge of what has been going on at Alabama for years, where is this program now, and where do you see it heading?
Well, I think the answer to that question, whether it's Alabama or anybody else, more so now than ever before, is what are the afforded resources to the program to compete at the highest level, the top 1%, right? Do you have the resources where you've got bottomless pockets and a blank paycheck to ensure that you compete with the best of the best out there each and every year? That's the question you have to answer, and whether or not you have that. Now, we know Alabama's got tradition. We've got a history of winning national championships, um, great education, unbelievable player development. But here's the problem in all of that. And this is what I hate this whole thing's turned into. And I'm going to have my get off my lawn moment here for a second. Is it used to be that's what you cared about as a recruit. Are you going to develop me for the NFL? You know, can I work? Am I going to get the academic support, to work towards my degree? What are the plans for me? So maybe, am I going to play right away? Okay, all of those sorts of things. You know what it is now? It's three things. This is what I've learned over the last 5 years. Players going to come in, they're going to say, I want to take a photo in the uniform.
Mm.
I want to meet the head coach, and I want
Mm.
to talk to your NIL people.
Mm.
All of that other crap is over here. And it's a shame, right? So that's what makes it so hard to win at a high level every single year and sustain it with roster turnover and a mindset of the player that is so drastically different than it ever was before. And I don't blame the player in all of this. This is the world that we've created, right? And so I think the question is, can Kalen DeBoer and the staff, let's say they've got tremendous resources. I think we all know Alabama's got resources. Okay. Let's say they've got tremendous resources. Then it comes down to the decisions that you make in recruiting and the transfer portal to ensure that you don't destroy your program from within, right? Because it used to be in recruiting, you identified, evaluated, developed, graduated. Now you identify, evaluate, right? Sign the guy, and then you hope to retain him, right? It's retention. If he's any good, if he's a guy that you want to have, right? So those decisions now, I think, are so critical to whether or not you can sustain long-term success. So it's going to take a combination of resources and then the decisions that you make as a coaching staff. And I go back to Kurt Cignetti in Indiana, and those decisions that they made in terms of how they built that roster was one hell of a blueprint, right? I mean, at the end of the day. But I think with Greg Byrne and what they've done contractually, I do believe that there's a real upside to stability. I think there's a real upside to continuity when everything else in this sport is in flux, right? And there's so much chaos going on. I think you'd rather have that than trying to find the best guy every 2 years and just constantly going through a vicious cycle of trying to figure out who's going to lead your program. So from that perspective, I think they're in a very healthy position.
The
And
other
AJ
tough
knows
thing,
this. AJ knows this, and everybody knows it who's been in the sport. If you hit on a quarterback, it changes everything.
Yeah.
If you don't have a
100%.
quarterback, forget about it.
The other tough thing, just being a head coach or a coach in college football right now, is dealing with all the BS agents that are out there, because they're all promising these kids and even these schools, but these schools are wrong for doing this as well, because they're promising these contracts and then the contracts are being held because these coaches and these organizations are smart. They understand. When you look at the average deal, NIL deal that's being passed through right now, it equals out to about $7,000 per kid. Like there's very few kids that are getting paid a crazy amount of money, but all these kids are getting promised this crazy amount of money, but nothing's getting passed through the third party that has a contract with the NCAA. That's the other thing.
Yep.
And it's why there's so many lawsuits going on and schools, suing kids and then vice versa. Like, because nothing's getting passed through, but everybody thinks they're getting all this crazy money, but they're truly
Yep.
not. And,
Yeah.
and that's the crazy part about it, because you have all these bad agents out there who aren't truly agents, and their cousins and aunts and uncles and friends and everything else, like, that have no clue what they're doing. And they're leading these kids down the wrong path because they end up transferring 3 to 5 times, and then they don't even have a degree by the time they get done.
Yeah. Yeah. And unfortunately, many of them aren't going to have a dime to their pocket either.
None.
Right. And that's the
Right.
other shame of this whole thing. And then guess what, guys? The real world hits.
Yep.
And that's the scary thing about it for me, because I'm for the guys making money, right?
Sure.
Because I mean, they was making what, $9.8 billion a year off us, and so when you look at it, but the guys that's not making that type of money, or the guys that get stuck in a transfer portal,
Yeah.
they get stuck with these houses, stuck with these cars, stuck with a credit card, and now it is nothing next for them, or
Yeah.
it is no education behind it.
Right.
And somebody is leading your son and these kids, these teenagers, some of them might be 20 to 21, 22, 23, whatever. But they still kids.
Yeah.
And these kids, and I look at this because I know one day, praying that, my son is going to go through this, but I want to be able to make sure that, hey, we don't have to get in that situation, or, hey, you don't have to jump at that, or this is that, or this is real, this is not real. But I'm a father that has experienced it. I've been through that type of world, and I know what the real world feels like now. Like, I didn't know what that felt like when I was getting protected by Coach
right.
Saban.
Scream it to the rooftop, Trent.
Yeah.
Because not enough kids are listening and they're not hearing it. To AJ's point, you got guys that aren't accredited. They're not reputable. Many of them aren't even attorneys. They have no idea about contract law or any of this stuff. And then all of a sudden you're left with what you just clearly stated. And that's not what we want. What are we teaching these young kids? That's not what we want in all of this.
And they got to realize too, like, when they get in that transfer, all that stuff stops. Like, you don't have, and that's just like endorsement deals. Like, we're not on the team. Nike stops, Adidas stops, Reebok stop, all these big shoe contracts, all that stuff stops until you get on a team.
Yep.
And so the commercials, all that stuff, it stops until you get on a team.
Yeah. That.
Tom, great stuff. Can't thank you enough for the time. We appreciate it so much, and hope you'll visit back with us during the season when things get going.
Hey, real quick, because we didn't get to mention it, but we had the game last night, AJ, and I'm curious, coming away from that, because I was on the field with you and I'm watching it from field level. And after you went through the tape today, because I think this is one thing when fans that follow football, they love watching football, and all they see the outcome of a play, all right, good or bad. They see the box score in the paper, good or bad, right? But I'm curious, when you watched the tape today, what did you see that encouraged you that the casual fan, either watching on TV or sitting in the stands, would never even notice?
More than anything, I think the biggest difference when I go back and watch even the TV copy, and that's probably the number one thing I like watching, just because you can hear so many things, and then they show different camera angles and all of that. But the growth that our team has shown in the last 2 weeks, when offense is on the field, defense is up cheering, they're into the game. They're not all just sitting on the bench. And then vice versa. Like, that was the most amazing part to me, is watching the team just gel together, especially towards the end. But I mean, you wouldn't think that we were trailing the entire game from just the attitude on the sideline. There was still confidence, even at halftime. It was like, hey, we're going to go out and play our game. We're going to win this thing. And another thing I mentioned in post game is, Justin Ross has been an all-time pro for us this year. Dude is unbelievable. I mean, he's on time. He does everything the right way. And he had an off game yesterday. I mean, he probably had five drops, and something he hadn't had all year. But I talked about him and Deion Kane because when you watch those guys, and it's something I've been talking to him about that is going to help separate them from every other receiver, in the UFL and allow them to have an opportunity, and something you have to do as a player when you make it to the next level to sustain it, not just make it, but sustain it, is almost a basketball mindset of how am I playing without the ball? And I think when you watch the last 2-point conversion for Mick, watch Justin Ross come off the line. I mean, just absolutely sprinting. He knew they were in stubby coverage. We had talked about it, and he knew probably in stubby, he is not going to get this ball. 99.9% of the time, he's not getting it. But when you watch him come off the line of scrimmage and run his route so he can affect the safety and then also affect the Mike linebacker just to make him hesitate so he doesn't squeeze the window for Mick. I mean, it opened up to where the nickel fell off a little bit. The Mike hesitated and Mick sat right there. Like, that's the part that I love watching as a coach more than anything, is watching how dudes play without the football, because I think that speaks a lot about them as a person and a player. And that's something NFL teams want to see.
Great
if
stuff.
he comes off half-assed right there, it affects the play negatively, and the play may not happen.
Exactly. I don't think we convert that 2-point conversion if he doesn't do his job. So it was awesome.
Good stuff. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks,
hey,
guys.
Appreciate you, Tom. Thanks so much.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for having
brother.
me on. Have a good
Appreciate
night.
it.
Appreciate
All right,
it.
back
AJ, good
with
luck this
more.
week, bro.
We are back with more in just a moment here on the Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Back to wrap up another episode of the Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Hope you'll rate, review, and share at the Dynasty Bama. But also, you can find our hub for YouTube, Apple, Spotify. TheDynastyBama.com is where you can find us. And we're excited. Plans in the works for season number 2. We are going to take a break here for a couple of weeks, but the plans are to roll around for season 2 here before much longer. So if we're away for a couple of weeks, you'll still be hearing from us on our social media platforms, but we will be in terms of the long form programming, we're going to take a little bit of time off. We're going to let AJ get that playoff run going and get to a championship game. Hopefully, when we bounce back, we'll be talking about the championship for the Stallions or their run towards that, and a lot of other good stuff. In fact, there's some good stuff this week, especially for those of you that like the big marquee games. Yeah, Alabama-Oklahoma State has canceled a home and home, but the Tide series with Ohio State, scheduled to be played in 27 and 28, is expected to still be played. There's been a lot of rumors that could be canceled with the move to a 9-game schedule, but we are going to see the Tide and the Buckeyes play. Guys, I know you're excited about it. I'm excited about it. Fans on both sides are. Georgia, Florida State have canceled. I don't know how many people care about that like they would have maybe 3 years ago, even 2 years ago. But that one is now done. But Bama's got back-to-back years with Ohio State and then back-to-back years with Notre Dame. And start with you, Trent, your thoughts, but I'd be shocked if you're not pumped about those 2 games still taking place.
I think it's good for the sport, right? But I've been big on, I don't know why would we keep that game or keep, playing, people outside the SEC, knowing that we're going to a 9-game schedule. But I definitely love the competition. You're talking about, 2 places got plenty of tradition, and you still got Notre Dame too. So it's going to be great for the sport. But I don't think it's going to be great far as those top teams playing each other, and those those other guys don't have to be on the same sliding scale as we are. Yeah. And so it's just tough for me to be like, yay, but at the same time I'm like, let's go,
right,
because
you guys would have wanted to play in this,
yeah, of course,
as players, but as adults now looking at the bottom line, which is winning the championship, that's not necessarily a place you want to put yourselves in.
Yeah, I mean, because it almost brings it to you, like, is the championship, like, winning the championship, is it the championship anymore? Like, is it just about the dollar? Or, like, any given Saturday for us, and it wasn't a playoff system, right? And so it wasn't no NIL either. So, like, does it mean as much now? And this is a question for me personally. I ask myself, does it, and as an adult, like, does it mean enough to be like, hey, I want to get my guys in that game, and I ain't just talking about for the politics of it. We want to bring a ring back, bring that trophy back, to Bama. So that's a question that I have.
If the format was the same as it was when you guys played, or even what it was 3-4 years ago,
yeah,
probably not, to your point, Trent. But AJ, now with a loss not being viewed, one loss being not viewed as it was, or even two for that matter, it is a little bit different deal, isn't it?
Yeah. Listen, as a fan, you love it because it makes for a fun weekend. It's trash talk, like the social media side of things, the marketing side of things. Like, there's so much money being produced in this whole deal. And even from a TV contract, the scary part to the entire thing is if you slip up and then you have another slip up during the regular season, you're not guaranteed to get in with 2 losses. I mean, and depending on how tough your schedule is from an SEC standpoint or a Big Ten standpoint, for either one, Ohio State or Alabama, I just don't see the upside to playing each other and playing these big out of conference games anymore. As a competitor, shit, we don't care who we play. I don't care where we play. I mean, we can go to the parking lot, right?
Yeah.
But man, as a coach and a fan, and just thinking of the way things are in college football right now, like, I just don't see the upside in it, because you're playing in the SEC, you're playing in the Big Ten. If you win, you go 9-1 in the regular season, like, you're in. So why even put yourself in a situation to have another loss when your in season schedule is probably already tough enough, especially in the SEC. So I don't know. It makes it fun, but it makes it scary at the same time. I would think both programs.
Yeah, and if you think about what Coach Smart said at the end of the year in the SEC championship, he said, "Man, Alabama's a good, damn ball team, but they was beat up. We was beat up. Our guys are tired. When you think about that, and it was just 8 games, right? Well, I guess 9 because it was SEC championship. He actually gave prop to Bama. How good the program was, and how beat up they was, and maybe those guys wouldn't beat up. The outcome might have been a little different. Not saying that they Bama would have won, but maybe would have been a little closer. So when you hear stuff like that coming from a guy that's won won 4 national championships over there now.
Two at Georgia.
2?
He ain't won but 2 at Georgia.
Like,
don't dare give him 4. We'll get written. All
4 total, I think.
I got
you. You got 4 total with
like
with Bama,
2 at
right?
Bama. Or does he have 3 at
No,
Bama?
he got
I was going to say, he probably got more at
He got
Bama.
3 at Bama.
Yeah. I think he's got 5 total.
I thought you were trying to give the Bulldogs 2, and I was like, don't you dare give them more credit than that.
Nah, he ain't getting that. He ain't getting that. I ain't giving that to him.
There you go.
Nah, but to just, to listen to his answer at the end of that game, like, not only the players was tired, the coaches was. Like, man, like, it's crazy, trying to, prepare for these games and make sure that, at the end of the day now, a lot of the games now is about style points, about how many points you putting up, not just about, winning the game by 3. Sometimes you got to go out there and embarrass a team, and where, back in the day, Coach Saban was like, hey, AJ, don't throw the ball deep. Hey, let's kneel it or hand the ball off, and he throws the Julio over the middle, and get spanked on a tail, going to the sideline, But it's just different, man. So
Yeah.
I don't want it to, get to a point, man, and it's going in the direction of this money thing, man. It takes the pride away from the game and its integrity away from the game to where, like, man, we missing the big picture of developing and make sure the guys are safe, healthy and safety. I mean, have they safety, and when they get to the next level, they can say that they left here, ready for the next level.
All right, just to clean up a little bit from what we were talking about, and to be fair, because he certainly deserves the props because he was fantastic in Tuscaloosa, all seriousness. Kirby Smart, a part of 4 at Alabama,
Hey.
4 at Bama, and 2 more on his own as head coach at Georgia. So definitely quite a run there. Hey, let's finish it up. Trent, we had AJ's Coach's Corner last segment when he was talking with Tom Luginbill. Let's go short yardage with you. What have you got for us today here?
Man, I got 2 situations, man. I just came back from a Nike tournament, AU tournament with TJ, and listen, man, that kid played his tail off.
Basketball, right?
Yeah, basketball. Yeah, and that whole team played their tail off, man. And just to watch, and AJ said this about his son, and you said this about your son a week ago, a couple weeks ago, and just to see your kid, just elevate and just have fun and enjoy it, and just dig that dog out of him. Like it's something, man. Like, bro, I think out of 7 games, 5 of them went into overtime. And the last one that led into the championship game, TJ took us in overtime, or he won the game in overtime. And so, man, to see that, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and he hit that shot and he won the game in overtime. But just to see that, and we lost it at the end in the championship game, and it was a great team, man. That we lost it against, and I'm talking about, man, they had kids that was battling each other, man. I'm talking about the point guards was the small forwards and the power forwards and the center, like they was going at it, and it was one of those games that full of gladiators. So, man, I was happy about I'm not happy that we lost, but if it was a team that we would lose to, that was the team. It looked like a Alabama and Georgia battle from back in the day, and it was an Atlanta team, man. And man, the point guard that they had, man, he got good upbringing, man. So his dad is a great guy. Got a big podcast. I follow him a lot, man. So, man, it was a great deal, man. But my second thing, man, and most important thing, man, listen, for all my key highs that love American Idol, man, I'm a key high of Keelon Richardson, and my little cousin, man. She been doing the thing. She made the grand finale. She is in the final Monday. So y'all go out and vote, man. I'm telling you, man, this girl has proven herself, and she's still, climbing the elevator, climbing the stairs, and she's at that mountaintop, man, to where, she's going to need your vote. So, not to push the little, not to push it over a little bit more, but I need y'all to vote for her, man. Keelon Richardson, man. You can vote up to many times you want to this week, man. So Monday, man, the grand finale. It's going to be a 3-hour series, man, special. So, man, y'all get out there and watch American Idol, man, because I'm going to have my Key High shirt on. I wish I had it on today, but I got to represent for my brother today. So, man, listen, y'all, she got a special story with her son. And man, it's a beautiful thing, man, to watch my little cousin to go from, me holding her, or she, holding Talia in one of our videos that they had shot, with the mayor now of Pensacola, D.C. Reeves, which had a job at Bama as a reporter. And now he's the mayor. Now he's the mayor of Pensacola. Crazy. So to see them together, man, and it's just, it's a beautiful thing, man. So, man, I'm proud of it, man. But go vote.
That's awesome. AmericanIdol.com/vote is where you can go vote for Trent Richardson's niece cousin. Sorry, cousin. And Coach AJ McCarron, best of luck to you and the Stallions. Keep the momentum going. Next game is
Sunday in Birmingham.
Good deal. All right, Coach Trent, we appreciate you both. We all appreciate Steve Gorgie, our producer, who's phenomenal, puts all this stuff together for us. Appreciate Tom Luginbill spending some time with us as well. Most of all, thank you for checking us out. It's called The Dynasty a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide.